we are going to be impersonating Alvin and the Chipmunks, but it's just going to be a duet.
Are you ready, Tristan? Oh, I'm ready, John.
Welcome to the Disc Golf Prescription Podcast, your weekly dose of disc golf. Hello and welcome to the Disc Golf Prescription Podcast. I'm your host, John Nicholson, and today I have with me the one and only Tristan Tanner.
There might be multiple.
The one of many, Tristan Tanner.
Hello.
How are you doing today, buddy?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Of course.
What guest am I? Number?
Oh, 6.
Okay.
7?
So you're officially past my podcast length of
Yes.
episodes.
Maybe.
Congrats.
I don't know. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh man, we're off to a good start. By the way, I've interviewed several good friends of mine. We have the hotel room window open today, and there's random people walking by. So we apologize in advance for our ADD if we look over there.
Me getting distracted every single time.
Yes. Speaking of that, I just completely lost my train of thought. But we are both two very ADD people. We probably have way too much fun, if that's a thing, when we hang out. So this should be an interesting episode. We're gonna tackle some serious disc golf topics, but I guarantee there's gonna be a healthy dose of would you even call it humor sprinkled in between?
Poor comedy.
Poor comedy. I think just like the poor lighting in hotel rooms,
Yes,
we're gonna have
yes.
very poor comedy
Exactly.
today. Before we get into the questions, make sure if you are listening on a podcast app, 5-star review, please. I don't know why I'm pointing at the YouTube camera, because if they're listening, if you're listening, I was pointing at you. So just know that. 5-star review, please. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. Helps out the podcast a lot. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, it's time for the serious stuff. Oh, we forgot to address that. Thank you so much.
Yep.
We are still in the hotel room setup. If you watched or listened to Mason Ford's episode, you may remember us talking about the bad guitar. Because we have the mic stands set up in a place where they can be so easily hit, sometimes these noises may occur, so we apologize in advance.
That was so moody.
For that.
The way you were just perfectly strumming the guitar as you were talking.
So we apologize in advance for that. Hopefully it won't happen too much, though. All right. You ready? Ooh, nice clapping noise. You ready to get into this?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I actually ask every guest this question, and it's really funny because most people I've interviewed I know pretty well, but I actually don't know the answer to this question for quite a few people, and that is, what was your athletic background before disc golf, and like how did you get into disc golf?
Okay. I'm surprised you don't know this.
I mean, I know you played basketball.
Yeah, so my main background was basketball. I played baseball and soccer when I was like young until probably about late middle school. And then I started playing basketball in middle school, like really seriously. And that's the only sport that I carried into high school. I played at JV and varsity level for a little while. I was planning to go to college to play basketball, and then dealt with injuries, kind of similar to my disc golf career, just a lot of injuries, which we have to talk about this later because I think I figured it out.
Deal.
Why? But yeah, just dealt with a lot of injuries in basketball. Was planning to go to college to play, and that didn't work out. When I quit playing basketball, there was a disc golf course like probably 5 minutes from my parents' house. And, playing basketball, I was just in the gym all the time. Wasn't really outside ever. And so I decided to grab a few discs and go and give disc golf a try. It was just kind of random. Bought 6 discs from Play It Again Sports and just honestly was hooked right away.
That's very cool. Were you living in Colorado at the time?
Yeah, so this is Longmont, Colorado, just outside of Boulder. The course I learned how to play on is Dry Creek. I don't even know if it's still in anymore. It's
Okay.
an atrociously bad course.
I love that.
Like wide open, dead flat. There's one shot that you throw from like the top of a hill down, but the rest of the course is dead flat, no trees, and the course distance is like 10,600 feet.
Okay. So far.
Really, really far. Like the first 6 holes, the shortest hole is 360.
Wow.
Yeah.
I actually think I remember, man, this is a while back. This is a weird memory. Listening to an interview you did with maybe Robert McCall. It was either maybe Bobby did it.
It was on Disc Golf Answer Man.
Okay.
I was on Disc Golf Answer Man.
And I think I remember them asking you, like, you throw far, which is obvious. You throw far. A lot of people know you for throwing far, both forehand and backhand. Mm-hmm. But I think they were like, okay, like, where'd you start? Like, how'd you learn throwing far? And you were like, well, I played this course and I just really wanted to, like, get to the holes.
Yeah.
And they were really far. So I just threw at them until I could.
Literally. Yeah. No, I thought disc golf was just like people launched it. And then when I first went and played another course, I was like, oh, like everyone doesn't need to throw this far. But it was a good skill to learn.
Yeah.
Right away.
I remember that's one thing I remember from that podcast. And the other one, you're like, oh, yeah, whenever I have like 375 to the basket, I throw a Justice. And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
this guy's a monster.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, that was, I mean, I'd like to say I've learned a little bit more touch since then, but I still kind of just throw hard stock shots whenever possible.
That's fair. I don't know. When we were doing field work yesterday, you were like, oh, I'm going to throw at your arm speed.
Yeah.
And you threw my really flippy Maverick and my flippy Trespass, and you were like, oh, never mind. They still flip.
Yeah, they still flip. I threw some really good touchy shots from
It's
like
true.
300 feet with like really fast flippy drivers yesterday.
That's true. They were money.
And it felt really good in the round. My release point was dialed when we were playing. So
Awesome. He also threw a lot of very, very hard, very far shots.
yes.
So
yeah. Only
was-
like a short 5-hour fieldwork session was done
yeah.
yesterday.
I'm glad I was only there for like an hour.
I was there for I did like 3 hours before you got there. Almost. Wow. Yeah.
You know what's even more amazing? We are one question in and already off the rails.
Yeah. Oh yeah, completely.
I love this.
Yeah.
This is going to be a good one.
Yep.
So you played basketball, found disc golf.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there was any like skill transfer from basketball into disc golf?
The only skill transfer I think was the work ethic and like the time, being used to putting a lot of time in, because I was already doing, for basketball, it was like, okay, we have practice before school, like 1.5 hour shooting practice, and then get done, weight room for an hour, and then we have like our 3-hour normal practice, and then like having to eat and then still do school all on top of that. I think that's the part that translated the most to disc golf, because then when I stopped playing basketball, I just got all that time to then play disc golf. So it's just like right out of the gates. Like I think the first day I played disc golf, I played for 8 hours and like did field work. I like did field work the first day that I touched a disc.
I'm going to figure this out.
Like yeah, it was crazy.
That is awesome.
It's just, yeah, that's really the main thing. I think some of the athletic background, part of having a lot of injuries over my life has gave me really good body awareness. Just like doing PT and stuff, you really learn how your body moves, which I think makes it so I can pick up like athletic movements fairly quickly, which obviously translates well to like picking up sports fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the main things that translated.
Okay. What year was that? Because I know you got your PDGA number in 2017.
Yeah.
When did you first start?
It was early March of 2017.
Okay.
Was when I first picked up a disc.
So only a few months before you ended up getting a PDGA number.
Yeah, I think it was like 5 months before or so. And then it was also like 2 months before I graduated high school
Okay.
or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So 2017 Tristan Tanner, if you can remember way back then,
Yeah.
a whole 5 years ago.
A whole 5 years ago.
What were your strengths and weaknesses when it came to disc golf, and how have those kind of progressed over time?
Well, my strength right away was throwing far. My weaknesses were everything else. So putting approaches, throwing mid-ranges, putters, all that stuff was all weakness.
Okay.
I threw 600 feet. This course was super long, and I loved doing field work for like the first 6 months that I started playing. But I threw 600 feet for the first time after playing for 2.5 or 3 months, which is
Wow.
kind of ridiculous.
That is insane.
And there's a video, I think I talk about it on like every podcast I've ever done, but there's a video on my Instagram of my crazy like reach around form. Have you ever seen it?
I think I have. I think you've shown it to me.
I think I have shown it to you. But so I just had this like wild form. It wasn't like by any means good disc golf form, but it made it so I could like really launch a frisbee with literally no accuracy whatsoever, which for Colorado golf is actually pretty good because we
throw it
generally
over the mountain.
playing open, and at elevation you just have to throw so hard to get the disc to go anywhere.
See, people say from Colorado, there's a lot of really successful disc golfers from Colorado. They keep saying it's because they had to learn to throw in elevation, all that stuff. I'm fully convinced there's something in the water there.
We don't have much water, so I don't know, maybe in the dirt.
Maybe in the dirt. The dirt all over the place.
I do think elevation has a big thing, not even just for disc golf, but just for like the body, like physically. I feel like there's a lot more like healthy people at elevation just out of necessity.
Yeah, you have to just work harder.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I very much was kidding about the water. I do think it is the elevation that makes people. I don't think it makes you, but I think it is helpful early in your career having to learn that. Like Aaron throws incredibly far, but he throws with like a lot of torque.
Yeah.
Whereas you throw incredibly far and you throw with a lot of spin. Mm-hmm. And so there are differences, but y'all learned how to do it a little differently.
Totally.
But there's quite a few disc golfers. Colton.
I think Colorado might have this. If we put together like pro teams for each state, I think Colorado has it right now.
I don't know. I think statistically on paper, I think you might have it.
We had 3 top 10s at Worlds.
That's fair. But
the team would be like Eagle, me, Aaron, Joel Freeman, Colt Montgomery.
That's a pretty nasty team.
Yeah.
You might have it.
I
don't know. We need to put some state teams together. There's no time to do it though.
No, there isn't.
There's zero time. People would be like, sorry.
Like, what would we call it? Like instead of the President's Cup in golf or something, it'd be like the
state cup. I don't know. I don't have a career in naming things for good reason.
And you don't have a future career in it either.
Thank you. We already touched on a few of my other questions, such as you throwing very far, and why you have improved so quickly at disc golf. I would assume at least you attribute that to your work ethic and coming out of a sport where you had to invest so much time into it and immediately transferring all that time into disc golf. Because you improved very, very quickly. You went from I think your first rating was high 800s, and then you immediately shot up to like 1,000 basically within a year and a half.
2 years, I think.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I went end of 2017 when I got my first rating, I was 858 rated at the end of that year, I believe. And then the next November, after I'd played all the tournaments for 2018, I was 966 rated. But at that time, because my rating went up so fast, I was already averaging 1,000 at that point. And that's actually when me and Aaron played together for the first time.
Oh, awesome.
But yeah, so I was like averaging 1,000 then, and then that's when I went on tour was the next season. I like bought my van and went on tour. And then like I don't think I got to 1,000 rated till the next year after that, actually.
Okay.
Because I got injured really bad at the beginning of that season. Dislocated my kneecap, patellar dislocation.
Fun.
Yeah, it was not fun at all.
It doesn't sound like it.
So like my rating stayed down because of that, and then I ended up getting to 1,000 rated the next year.
Okay.
But I feel like injuries have just kind of kept my whole career. My rating has been lower than it like should be in quotes, which is like such a silly thing to say because ratings show exactly what they're meant to show, is how you've played on average over the past season.
It's a great approximation.
So it's like, and when people say ratings are wrong, like ratings are never wrong. Like they don't show potential. They show what you've done. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that.
I don't know. Well, I think it's a great time to talk about injuries, though. You said you said you think you may have figured it out. I'm particularly interested because I also unfortunately have suffered some injuries lately, which has not been fun.
Yeah,
but
you have.
What's been going on with you?
So I think, well, I've dealt with injuries my whole life, pretty much, especially my adult life, and I feel like I've constantly done everything to not be injured, besides potential like overuse injury stuff. But most of the injuries I've had haven't necessarily been overuse. They've just been like these like one-time weird things. But I guess like a year and a half ago or a year ago, my brother got diagnosed with celiac disease, and he has like a really severe version of it.
Okay.
Whereas like his throat swells up and it's terrible. Like it's really bad. But then like my mom was talking to me like 3-4 months ago and said that in the off season, I should get tested for it to check to make sure I don't have it, because it's highly likely that I do. And when she said that, I inadvertently started intermittent fast. Well, I started intermittent fasting and inadvertently stopped eating gluten. And like even just real mild celiac or like allergy to gluten can, like the gluten can coat your stomach lining and make it so you don't absorb any of the nutrients in your food, which would make a lot of sense why I eat so healthy and do everything to not get injured and then still get injured all the time, if I'm just not absorbing any of that good food that I'm eating.
Also causes a lot of inflammation.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think combination of intermittent fasting and like just being a little bit more of a calorie deficit more of the time has been a little bit helpful, but really just mainly the past 3 months I've ate much less gluten. Obviously I still do sometimes. Yeah. But bringing that down way more, I felt in the past 3 months, I felt the least injury prone than I have in the past 10 years that I can remember.
That's awesome.
So hopefully I'm done with little injuries.
Is this wood? I think the chairs are. Something has wood in it here. I think we're good. Goodness. All right, to get back on track. I can't even talk. On track slightly. You finished off saying you bought your van. That was actually something I was going to talk to you about, because from what I remember, you were one of the like original van lifers, and you've been doing it for a while now, 4 years. Yeah, 4 years exactly. Almost. Wow. Are you still enjoying it? Like what is going on with your van life?
Yeah, so that's kind of crazy that you say I was kind of one of the first ones, because I kind of was.
You were one of them, yeah.
I mean, because before me it was just like Paige and like Paige and Perkins.
I was gonna say, yep.
Maybe like a few other people, but I guess I probably
only a few, and now there's like 50.
I potentially was probably like the fifth one, or something. But yeah, van life is something I had wanted to do for a long time before disc golf. I mean, since I was in middle school, I like saw van conversions and people living van life and stuff, and I really, really wanted to do it. It just sounded so cool.
Your personality suits it.
Yeah, it definitely does. And so when disc golf presented the opportunity for me to do it, I was like, it's a no-brainer. I just have to do it. And at the time, right out of high school, obviously I was still playing disc golf, or I was playing disc golf at this time, but I was working for my dad. He's a doctor, so I was just doing like insurance billing type stuff. And so I had like a little bit more money than like the average high school or like just out of high school kid kind of. And so, I ended up buying the van and getting it all converted. Did it all myself too, which saves a lot of money.
Yes, it does.
Compared to, I mean, vans can get so expensive.
I don't want to lie to you guys though. It's very difficult. Saves a lot of money. Very difficult.
Very difficult. Learned completely on YouTube. Lucky I had a friend back in Colorado. Shout out Nate Metzler.
Nate's awesome.
Yeah, he's a solar engineer, so he put the solar on the roof of my van. But
also Team DD.
But yeah, I love van life. I feel like I'm gonna have some sort of like overlanding vehicle at like for my whole life. I'm actually selling the van.
Okay. I knew you were thinking about it. I wasn't sure.
Yeah. So I'm selling it right after the season's over, and I'm gonna get a C-Class RV next year
Awesome.
instead. So just a little bit bigger than my van now, but then obviously has the like AC and heat and stuff, because the middle of the stretch of the season,
The Midwest.
the 4 months in the middle of the season is just so brutal. Like, and I just know, like, every year when it starts getting cold at night, like my sleep and everything, because I mean, we've talked about it, but I track my sleep and everything so much.
I was gonna ask.
Yeah. And so my sleep just gets drastically better when the temperature drops. Like my REM and slow wave, like the amount of time I'm in slow wave and REM sleep every night is almost double when it's cold versus when it's hot, which is
Wow.
huge.
Well, okay. So selling the van,
Yeah.
getting a C-Class RV, onboard generator.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has like a 85-pound propane tank.
Sweet.
And it's a propane generator, so it's
Okay.
silent.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
That's so sweet. We could nerd out on that for days.
Yeah.
Staying on van life for just a second, though. Well, actually, I have two parts to this. The first one, I'll just say, what would you recommend to people looking to get into van life?
I feel like the best thing is to just like live out of your car for a little bit. Because I lived out of my car probably 4 days a week for all of 2018. I would like work a few days and then like I played a tournament every weekend in 2018, pretty much. And so I was just living in my car at the time, and it just got me so familiar with like what I needed and didn't need, because I feel like so many people who go straight from like an apartment or a house into a van, they feel like they need totally different things than they actually do. And once they do van life for like just a few months, they're like, oh my gosh, like I don't need any of this and I need more of this. And so just living out of your car for a little bit before you get into it is like a really easy way to get you set up properly. And then obviously like van life's cool because you can get into it at any price range you want. Like you could spend over $100,000 on a van, or you could probably find a van for less than $10,000 if you really wanted to.
Yep.
So I think those are the main things. Just kind of do some sort of experimentation beforehand before you get into it, and it'll make you know how you want to build out your van or what kind of van you want to get more.
Got you. I'm going to give a very quick tip. If you are looking to get into van life and you're over 6'3", do not get a Ram ProMaster.
Get a Ford Transit.
I am 6'1". I am the max height for a Ram ProMaster. If you want to stand up in your van, that is,
Yeah.
which I would assume you do.
Yeah.
Yep. Get a Ford Transit, or if you want to go expensive, you can get a Sprinter.
Those Sprinters are only 6'4" on the inside, and after insulation, Transits are 6'8" before insulation.
There you go.
Yeah.
Ford Transit. It is if you're tall.
If you're tall.
If you're
and
not
even
tall,
if you're short, you could like
Yeah.
if you're short, you could jump in a Ford Transit. You could do box jumps and stuff.
if you want to do box jumps in your van, get you a Ford Transit. Ford is sponsoring the.
That'd be sick.
That'd be amazing. I'd have to be in Europe because Ford Europe will sponsor disc
yeah,
golf.
yeah, they will.
Ford America? That sounds weird. Ford.
Ford.
We're going to stop
America.
now. Ford, you can't afford. I'm going to quit doing plays on words now. In the last van life question I have for you, this is actually you personally, much less van life. I've noticed you've done a lot more sightseeing this year, or at least you've posted about it more than I've seen in years past. Because you like went to Boston, you just went to New York. Like, what is kind of inspired the more sightseeing than I'm used to seeing you do, at least?
I think the sightseeing has just changed a little bit. Like this year, I've actually done drastically less sightseeing and like other stuff outside of disc golf. I've probably done like 10% of what I did last year this year.
Okay, I'm just wrong.
Yeah. But I've gone to like more cities and stuff, like Nashville and Boston and Portland I hung out a bunch into. I don't really know what sparked it. It just kind of randomly happened. Like I was just planning to go to New York. Me, Ezra, and Garrett and Judah were going to go to New York for just like an afternoon, and then we ended up staying there for 3 days. So
Beth.
yes, oh my
Paige
gosh,
Black.
so sick. Oh my god, yeah.
Great golf course for those of you who don't know.
Very good golf course, and I guess the Ryder Cup's there next year.
Oh, nice.
So we were excited. We played. They had like the black tees out that we played, or the blue tees were the longest. But they had like the next tee box back that the PGA plays, so we just played all those.
You got wrecked.
Oh my god, so wrecked. Like, there was this par 4, a quick golf tangent. There was this par 4 that was 517 yards into a headwind dogleg left.
Yikes.
I pured my drive, barely made it to the fairway. Judah and Ezra and Garrett didn't even make it to the fairway. That's how long this par 4 was.
That's rough.
Yeah, it was insane.
And they were probably in the rough.
And they're way better golfers than me. Way better golfers than me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I guess they all played golf for a period of time.
Yeah, no, Garrett.
I know Judo is really good.
Judah and Garrett both shot sub 90. They both like Garrett shot 86 or something at Bethpage.
Which they typically shoot
insane.
way better, but that course is extremely hard.
Yeah, it's like a 79 rating or something.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
nuts.
crazy.
Like 79.2 or something.
Goodness.
Nuts.
Part of me wishes we had slopes and ratings in not our type of ratings, but course ratings essentially in disc golf. But in golf, all the courses are very similar pars.
Yeah.
Like they only vary from typically like 69. Occasionally you could see a 68, but really most of the time it's 70 to 73.
Yeah, it really is.
And so they have very close pars, and all the courses are generally similar. Like they can be drastically different in distances, but you still have straight, you have dog legs left, you have dog legs right, you have the occasional island green par 3. But beyond that you have different grass types. Beyond that, there's not a ton of crazy variants. You don't have like a super wooded fairway or things like that would just make disc golf courses so hard to add a slope or a rating to.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you would establish a system like that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Hey, I'm sure we'll have it at some point. There'll be some sort of...
At least for the top courses.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Just your average,
I'd like to see it.
average pro goes and shoots. Well, even though like adding a rating to it and giving it a number would be hard because the pars are so different.
Yeah, yeah.
So you'd be like, wait, what is that?
Yeah, it'd be like, have to be like 2 par, like rating 2 par or something. But then a short par course, like a local pro could probably do better than, I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be tough, but I would like to see that happen at some point.
I would.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right. The section I've been waiting for.
Oh boy.
I like to ask people about their routines.
Oh.
I know for a fact you've got routines. What are some routines you think are really important for not only just like your disc golf game, but your life in general that you have?
Yeah. The two most important things to me are like eating window and sleeping window. So eating window first, I have intermittent fasted in the past. And I've always done some sort of like eating like time restraint. Like I haven't for the past 4 or 5 years, I haven't like just ate whenever I want. But since I've been intermittent fasting, like more like smaller eating window, I've been doing eating from 1 to 7 about. Some days, like yesterday, it was from 3 to like it was like from 3 to 6. It was just like smaller eating window times, which I feel like lets your it's not. I feel like it actually does let your body kind of like separate from food, and instead of burning like immediate calories, it's burning stored calories, which I feel like is huge for disc golf, especially because the worst thing ever is when you're have a 12 or 11:30 tee time. You don't know if you have to eat lunch before, and then if you skip lunch on hole 12, you're all of a sudden hungry, and then you're snacking during your round, and then like that can mess up blood sugar, or like that. It can be so brutal. So being separated from food for me has been so helpful, and I think it could probably be helpful for a lot of people. But yeah, I still eat a lot of food in that time because I burn so much. I'd like to see at some point, like, what is it called?
Your resting metabolic rate.
Yeah, or like
yeah.
whatever the calories I burn a day where I'm doing nothing. I'd love to see what that is, because it would be a lot, because my average calories burned right now is like 3,600 every day. And so I try to eat about a little over 3,000 calories, but I only eat 2 meals. So like I don't like snacking either. So I end up eating like 2 like 15 to 1,600 calorie meals, which you'd think would be like more brutal than it is, but I don't know. I love food, so
Yeah.
it's fine.
If you want to take Tristan out to dinner, which I don't know why I said it like that, but if you go to dinner with
you want to take Tristan Tanner out,
it's a giveaway.
Yeah. It's a giveaway that you pay for.
Oh goodness. But it only is the price of dinner. If you're having like a conversation with Tristan at dinner or lunch or a meal in general, and like he can keep the conversation still, but he will eat an entire plate of food in like 15 seconds. I'm slightly over exaggerating, but not by much.
Yeah.
He's just like done.
Oh, yeah.
Inhales it.
Uh-huh. I don't know. I feel like I eat slow, and then all of a sudden it's gone. My brother claims he's only seen me eating food twice in the past 4 years, and we've had a lot of meals together.
Yeah.
So
you don't eat slow. I'm sorry.
no, yeah, I don't eat slow, and yeah, I have been trying to chew my food more
Proud of you.
to help with digestion, but I don't really know if I do it or not. It's like the food's just gone in the same amount of time. I don't really know if I'm like speed up my chewing or whatnot. But yeah, so eating times is a big part of routine for me, and specifically the time that has been huge for me for over the past few years has been relative to sleep time. Like I don't want to eat within 3 hours of going to sleep, because I don't want to be like doing any major digestion while I'm sleeping. So I go to sleep at 10, or like that's when I head to bed. I'm normally falling asleep around like 10:25.
It's a much later bedtime than you did have.
Yeah, for a year or so it was like 9. It was 9 to 6:30. But yeah, it's 10 to 7:30 now. At least like when I get going to bed. But yeah, it's normally I fall asleep around like 10:25 normally, which is a very specific time. Which I think is really good. I think it's better for me to have sleep consistency over like trying to make up sleep, because there will be some times where I like wake up early or go to sleep late, but I'd rather have the sleep consistency and let my body like know, all right, it's 10:30, so it's time to fall asleep. Makes it way easier to fall asleep. And then when I wake up in the morning, as soon as my alarm goes off at 7:30, I jump right out of bed. I think for me, one of the worst things I can do is stay in bed for a long time. Just my quality of day goes down so much when I like have a lazy morning in bed. And I know everyone's different, but I just like to hop out of bed right on time and keep my body's rhythm going.
Absolutely. I've always known you to be very regimented like that. I actually have an impromptu question that I just thought about. It's actually one of my favorite facts about you, and I hope it's still something you do.
Yeah.
Do you still have 2 phones?
Yeah.
Okay. Explain this so I don't have to.
Yeah. So, I just have my one main phone. And then my second phone is literally just it's like an iPhone 6 that I had forever ago. And it's an alarm clock. Basically, instead of buying an alarm clock, I just use my old phone. But yeah, it just has the old iPhone, like sleep. I don't even know what it's called. It's like the sleep timer thing.
Yeah. I find it interesting because you are much more disciplined than most people, including Steph and I. Because a lot of people will be like on their phone until they go to bed, but you don't even like take your phone to bed with you. You leave it on the opposite side of your van, and you're just like, all right, if after I set this down, like you aren't getting a hold of me. It's impossible because I just have this old phone that's an alarm clock.
It's quite likely that it's just as impossible to get a hold of me like for the hour and a half before I go to sleep too, because I have like the do not disturb and like sleep everything on. So like I like don't see any notifications or anything. And I try to stay off social media during that time. But I guess some of my other routines, just because I guess that was the whole question. But some of my other routines is I wear blue light blocking glasses for the hour before I go to sleep. Because I do like being on my phone and like just kind of relaxing that way before I go to sleep. But I don't want to have the blue light because it can interfere with your REM sleep. So I wear blue light blocking glasses for the hour before bed. What are some other routines?
I have additional questions if that helps prompt them.
Sure.
So these are all disc golf specific ones.
Okay.
So if you think of another routine that isn't disc golf specific, please let me know.
Yep.
But I always ask everybody about any routines that they might have, but then they're disc golf specific ones. Like, do you have a set practice routine while you're on tour?
Yeah. Pretty much every single day. It's weather dependent. Like when we were up in New England, I wasn't in the field as much as I normally am just because it's like cold in the mornings.
Yeah.
But normally I'm in the field, like before I came here, I was in the field for an hour and a half. I normally go to the field around 9:30, 10-ish, and I'll spend an hour and a half to 2 hours in the field. And I do the same thing literally every single day. I have my portable basket in my van, and I have like 15 shields, 15 harps, and 15 pioneers, and my putting putters. I go to the field, set up the basket, and I go to 200 feet. I prefer, if I can, using soccer field lines or some sort of field lines that I can set up the basket on and then go straight down the line. Mm-hmm. So I have like some sort of like left to right reference point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I go to 200 feet and I throw standstill backhand shields all on a slight hyzer to the basket. And then I go standstill harps, same thing, slight hyzers with a forehand from 200 feet, trying to get them all as close as possible. And then I go to 400 feet with pioneers and throw pioneers like flat to hyzer from 400 feet and try to get those all as close as I can. Then walk back to the basket, pick up all the discs inside of 20 feet and just stack them up. And then I putt 2 putters from all of the other spots. And if I miss any putts, like the disc always has to end up in the basket before I like go on to the next spot. So even if it's like 2 feet away, I'll like, I feel like it looks funny sometimes when I'm in the field. Like I could miss 2 putts low on the cage, and then I'll like pick them each up individually and tap them in. But yeah, I do that pretty much every day, especially when the weather's nice. I do it every day. Even like tournament days, practice days, everything. And then normal practice weeks for me is like Monday, I'll do field work, play around right after field work, eat lunch, possibly do some sort of other like field work or practice, and then go to the gym, dinner, sleep. And then the Tuesday is, I go to the gym like every other day normally. And so ideally I go on Sunday if it's like a 4-day tournament, because then I don't want to work out the night before the event, but I like to get 3 workouts in of the week, like on alternating days.
Perfect. That was actually my next question, is if you had a set workout routine.
Yeah, and I work with Disc Golf Strong, Seth Muncie, and I've been working with him for 2 years, a little over 2 years at this point. So he has workout routines set up for me, so I just have 3 or 4 like set workouts that I rotate through. Yeah, gym's huge for me, and then yeah, just the consistency in that routine is really, really big.
Perfect. Does your workout routine change in the off season?
Yeah, it definitely does. During season is much more like maintenance type stuff, not as much weight, kind of more, I wouldn't say like higher intensity, but like almost more like explosive type training at like lower weight type stuff. And then in the off season, it definitely ramps up. Like I'll go, instead of like 2 to 3 workouts a week, it'll be 5 workouts a week, and yeah, higher weight. And like, that's where I try to make gains. And then through the season, it's just like maintaining it and keeping to consistent workout things, where off season, I'll do some like more unfamiliar movements.
That's awesome. You're one of the people that I've interviewed that treats it more like a traditional sport would be treated. Not that disc golf isn't becoming a traditional sport, but you're the first person who's mentioned making gains in the off season and maintenance throughout the regular season, which is how I look at strength and conditioning
For sure.
as well.
Yeah.
So,
And that's the same thing, not only in the gym, but also in the field. Is like in the field during the off season, is where I'll do some other practice things, and kind of like each off season I have 1 to 2 things that I'm like really focused on trying to get better at. And I still do the same routine that I normally would during the season, and then I just add on some things during the off season to like make those extra gains. And then during the season, I just kind of like mush it all together into a little shorter routine that I can do every day to just keep it up.
that's very cool. Any other routines you could think of? You're a very routine based, very disciplined person.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I get in and out of bed the exact same way every day. Like I have the stuff I bring to bed, like my water bottle, and I have like lavender oil that I put on my pillow, and like my USB fan that I set up, and I put it up, and like I also fold up all my bedding onto the back left side of my bed.
And your bananas.
Well, I don't have bananas anymore.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
I don't really eat bananas anymore. But I did used to have bananas. But like, yeah, everything like gets put away when I wake up the exact same way. And like I get off the bed the same way every morning. And then I get back in bed the same way every night. It's like
Just a little bit OCD.
yeah, just
A tiny bit.
a tiny bit.
I love it. All right. Are you ready for the fan favorite segment of Steph's
Oh, boy.
Curious Questions? It has its own sound effect. For those of you who have not heard or seen Steph's Curious Questions before, and for your sake, because you have not heard or seen Steph's Curious Questions, this is basically where my wife, Steph, I tell her who is going to be on the podcast this week. She basically either has 3 questions she would like to ask this person, or she stalks their social media and figures out 3 questions she would like to ask. And I don't monitor this at all, and she sends me the 3 questions and I write them down.
I'm ready.
Okay, you're ready.
Never mind.
Question number 1. What is one thing outside of disc golf you would want to grow more discipline or talent in?
There's a lot of things. Probably like business and money management more. And like obviously it's easier like when you don't have a whole lot of money, it's kind of hard to be like you don't have a whole lot of leeway, but obviously it starts there. But like as I start to make more money, I would like to like have more assets outside of disc golf and have more income streams and stuff like that. So that's probably the main thing. But I mean, like health is kind of related to disc golf, but that's something I'm always trying to get more disciplined and better at. But that's obviously hard and like has its ups and downs. But yeah.
Okay, awesome. Question number 2. You have a pretty big social media presence in disc golf. What drives that? Like, is it planned? Is it more spontaneous?
I think it like was planned originally.
Back in the YouTube days?
Yeah, back in the YouTube days, it definitely was. But even before YouTube, when I was just doing Instagram, I felt like I was definitely like more aware than like most AMs and like aspiring professionals are, to be like have brand presence. So like it hasn't necessarily even been like the social media itself. The social media has just kind of been a product of like wanting to create a brand. And so whatever that is, like just the consistency in who I am and everything, and like not having too much like deviation in how I carry myself and like these other things. And then the social media has just kind of followed that. And then obviously I started doing YouTube, which was kind of just this thing where I was like, one day I was like, oh, what if I make a YouTube video? And then I made a YouTube video, and then all of a sudden I had been doing it for like a year and a half and had like 12,000 subs or something. But yeah, I think now it has like it's not like weighted more or less. It's almost not on the back burner. It's like I'm trying to do Instagram stuff that'll like keep everything moving up steadily, but I haven't necessarily been doing anything to like really try to make any like big jumps, if that makes sense. Like I've
Yeah.
really, especially over the past year, I've really just been focused on my play, and like improving that side, because I feel like I got my social media and brand to a good place where it's almost like hit the ceiling of like where I was or have been as a player. And like I feel like the easiest way to have a huge social media and brand presence is to just
Be good.
be really good.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of been focusing on that. But you know, like in the future, I think when I can have like people helping me with my social media stuff, like having someone either on the road with me full time or like traveling like for some weekends and stuff to basically handle all my social media and to like film YouTube videos and edit YouTube videos and things like that, then that's when I'll be coming back to YouTube, which I know is what a lot of people have been wanting.
Yep.
I've
It's
got a lot of comments about it.
We've talked about it in private for sure, about transitioning away from YouTube so you can devote more time to playing disc golf and getting better at disc golf, because that's your job.
Yep.
And but I just wasn't sure if you had talked about that publicly at all.
No, yeah, I've talked about it. I mean, the viewers have probably seen some videos with Ezra and Brody and various other YouTube channels. But yeah, I mean, I got to a point where I hadn't lost the love for it, but I saw that it was prohibiting my play and that crossover. And in the end, the play is what's more important to me, at least at the moment, because like we said, the play can elevate everything else.
Well, awesome. I love asking like questions like that, even though this is Steph's question.
But you asked it.
I did ask it. I take full credit for that question. I love asking stuff like that because just it's interesting to get in the like mind of friends in this case that like I haven't asked a lot of these questions
We're
to.
friends.
Yes. Whether you like it or not. All right. Question number 3. You went to Greece earlier this year with your family.
Oh wow!
What
you
was
already
your-
messed up? It was Italy. Oh,
Baby.
oh!
I do not take credit for that one, even though I asked it. You went to, I'm going to erase that whole thing. You went to Italy earlier this year with your family. What was your favorite thing that you did, saw, and ate?
Pizza. No.
All of them.
Yeah, I mean, Italy was so cool. At least the part I went to is Cinque Terre, and it's basically this like coastal stretch of 5 just small like coastal towns, kind of touristy but kind of not. And there's like almost no cars there. Like everything is like very small and tight, just like on the hillsides. So you like take the subway up and down, and the whole like public transport system there is phenomenal. Like so smooth. It's like you never felt like you needed a car to get around everywhere. It was just, oh yeah, you got the subway or you take this. And so that was really cool. And then probably the biggest thing for me was just all of the food in general, the quality of food as opposed to what we have in the US is just their regulations make it so everything is healthy there, really. And it's kind of interesting the like wheat or the I guess it is the wheat that grow in Italy is what they use for like all the bread and stuff. Somehow I think it's because of like the volcanic activity, like doesn't have like almost any gluten content.
Strange.
Yeah. So like all their bread and everything is like technically still has gluten, but like everyone who's gluten free can go there and eat bread and pasta and all that kind of stuff. But just experiencing new culture is something I love. Like I want to travel and see as many new places as I can, especially when I'm young, but through my whole life, just to see what the world's like.
That's awesome. All right. That is the end of Steph's Curious Questions. It's a beautiful noise. It's why she requested it. All right. Into the last part of the podcast, I ask every single guest who's a player this. What is a piece of advice you would give to a player who's just starting or a beginner player? to help them improve?
I feel like my question or my answer is almost always the same when I have questions like this. And it's pretty much to throw shots you're uncomfortable with. Because it's so easy. Like beginner players want to try to shoot the best score they can. When in reality, it doesn't really matter what your best score is when you're like just beginning, because you don't really have the skill sets to shoot
Really good scores.
really good scores. And so just throwing shots you're uncomfortable with on every single hole and like messing around and trying different angles with different discs and just seeing what happens, just experimentation kind of stuff, is, in my opinion, the best thing a beginner player can do to improve and to just get more comfortable. Because in the end, like if you want to play at a high level or just like play good at like in your local leagues and things like that, you're going to be playing all sorts of different kind of holes, and having the adaptability to just like look at a hole and be like, oh, I've experimented with this disc on this line, and I don't really know, I've never really thrown this shot on this hole before, but I think this will work because I've messed around so many times with it, is something that I feel like made me improve really quickly and has got me the skill set I have now. And yeah, I think it would help a lot of people.
Awesome. I love that. All right. What is a piece of advice you would give to an aspiring professional?
I think the main thing, and it's kind of all I can speak off is personal experience, but like just kind of throwing yourself into the fire. What's the quote that I love? Sometimes you just have to throw yourself into the fire and learn how to swim. It's like it's like you just have to like dive in, because you have no clue what you have to learn until you're doing it. And so like you might be jumping into a fire, but actually you have to learn how to swim. And it's different, like it's gonna be a totally different thing. So you just have to try it out. Like play tour events or play Silver Series or whatever you can, high level A tiers where professionals are playing at, and then just test your skills. You'll learn so much from just trying to play with better people. And that goes for any level. Like if you're a rec player and you want to get better, play a tournament in intermediate or even advanced and just play with better players, and it'll make you learn so much quicker.
That's great advice. Also, the throw yourself into the fire and learn how to swim thing reminds me of a Dane Cook joke. I don't know the actual joke. I only know the punchline.
Okay.
Which he like mimes punching somebody and says, "Get back in the fiery water."
That's amazing.
So if anybody knows the setup to that joke, please comment and let me know what that is, because I only remember the punchline of "Get back in the fiery water."
The punchline itself is pretty good.
Yeah, that's all. You don't even need the setup, apparently.
Yep.
Or you just set it up with throw yourself into the fire and learn how to swim.
Yep.
Get back in the fiery water. Oh, goodness.
Wow.
I can't. My phone's over there. I was going to say I posted way too late. Tristan and I have had a time trying to schedule this.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because it's been weeks. I've been trying to get him on for weeks, and most of the time it's actually been me canceling because something hasn't worked out or something like that. And we finally found a time, and we got it last night. So I posted about fan questions this morning. Mm-hmm. And shockingly, we're on the East Coast, so everywhere else is earlier. So people had till like 9:30 a.m.
Yep.
Maybe even less than that.
Yeah.
To post a question, and as of the last time I checked, there weren't any yet.
So no one wants to hear from me.
Nobody. I'm so sorry. I apologize. I'm sure I'm gonna have more questions, and I'm actually gonna send them to you, and I'll answer them on Instagram.
Oh.
But
wow.
But there won't be any this week on the podcast due to my ineptitude. Is that a word?
Is that a planet?
Comment below. It's right. It's right behind Jupiter. Ineptitude. Oh goodness. Oh, we gotta end this. We gotta end this.
Maybe.
It's getting bad. I love it though. Thank you so much though for like joining the podcast. I appreciate it.
Thanks for finally not like canceling on me.
Okay, it wasn't that bad. No,
but yeah, it was fun. Maybe we'll do it again.
For sure, I'd love to.
In like a few weeks.
Before you go, because now I'm kicking you off. No, I'm just kidding. Before you go, where can people find you on social media and how can they support you?
Yeah. Tristan_Tanner13 on Instagram is mostly where I post everything now. I'm not really on Facebook too much. Everything kind of posts over there automatically. Not really on YouTube, but be looking for that at some point.
Mysterious.
My tour series on latitude64.com or .se and DD and your local retailers. Tour series Rive. Those are sweet. Yeah, that's about it.
Very cool. Quick plug before I go. This will now be, when this drops, it will be the second week of pre-orders for some Nicholson apparel that I have out there. So if you want to check that out and help support me, you can go to johnnicholsondg.square.site and find that.
You might be able to title this USDGC champion.
Oh, that'd be sick.
Because in a week from today, it's possible.
It is.
Highly likely even.
Highly likely. I love that. I'm leaving that in.
As you should. It might even be the intro.
That's perfect. Well, thank you all for listening and or watching or both. I never know what to say there because there's people just listening and people just watching.
Hopefully you're watching on YouTube with it muted and listening.
You know, Mason said the exact same thing.
No way, actually.
He did.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's super fun. So if you like the show, please like, subscribe, review the show. It helps a lot. But other than that, we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much.
We can't see them.
Signing off.